learned real quick that cash is king in a crappy market. So I started focusing on investors because investors were closing. 90% of my investors were closing. They were closing with cash and they were closing quickly. So I started focusing on investors, and I made a lot of good relationships during that rough market, and I went from a 5-digit income to a 6-digit income in a matter of 2 years. And that was, with the help of the investors and the fact that I became a knowledgeable investor agent, and I could walk into a property and say, this property needs 20 grand worth of work, and you're going to be able to rent it out for $1,000 a month when it's done, or you can sell it for X amount of dollars. That's that. I ended up building a small team around me, and it was basically kind of a natural growth. I got to the point where I was not happy working 80 hours a week anymore. It was starting to drain me, and I felt that I loved working in real estate. I feel like this was my calling, but I got to the point where I started to despise it because of how much time it was involving. I ended up hiring my first assistant in 2009, I think it was, right before the end of the year, and went through about 18 different assistants after that, and we're in a really good position now with a great couple of assistants, and Aaron was an assistant for us for a little while as well. We have, I believe, 7 agents working underneath me at the moment, and my goal is to turn this sales team into a national and hopefully someday global corporation. So you guys have been talking about flips, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Recently? Okay, good. So we're going to talk about if you're a flipper and you want to make the most money with your property, is it best for you to list that property with a real estate agent or sell it on your own, and what you would have to do to sell a property on your own to ensure that you're walking away with the most money? This is a situation that I've seen numerous times in the last 9 years in real estate, and I've watched not only flippers, but like just friends of mine. I watched a friend buy property that he felt was priced good, and he ended up selling it 5 years later, and he sold it for a loss. He actually had to come to the table with $20,000 in order to sell the property. And had he actually called me and said, I want to buy this property, can you analyze it for me? I would have told him, you're paying too much for the property, it's a bad deal, you shouldn't buy it. So there are instances where consulting somebody who's in the business on a regular basis can not only save you money, but make you money. So that's an instance there. And I've also seen a for sale by owner that I've recently been talking to. She was going to list the property with us, jumped the gun and thought, well, I'm going to put it on the market and see what I can do on my own. She priced it about $20,000 less than where I would have priced the property. And lo and behold, she's got 5 different offers within the first day. Well, what happened? She underpriced the property. So she missed out on probably $20,000 because she wanted to play, real estate agent, which is all well and good. If she doesn't know she lost $20,000, it ain't going to hurt her, right? Mm-hmm. I know she lost $20,000. So if it were me, so if I'm flipping a property, I'm going to list with a real estate agent. Now, I'm a real estate agent telling you it's a good idea to list with a real estate agent. But in my experience, it's exposure that gets you the most money, or at least make sure that you're not losing out. And that's where I differ with wholesalers, because a lot of wholesalers, they just want the quick buck. A wholesaler called me up last week and said, I'm about to do this deal on this property. It's in Shady Side, really good area. They were picking it up for $400, and they wanted to sell for $700. I looked at the property. I thought, well, I bet I could get them $800,000 for this. I said, I got a buyer for you. I bet I can get $800,000. We're going to get them in there on Wednesday, like this Wednesday. He called me up over the weekend and said, sorry, it sold already. They sold it for under $700,000. They missed out on over $100,000 because they wanted now money. They didn't want to take the time to get the exposure. So that's the difference between working with somebody who knows what they're doing and just trying to do it on your own and get it done quick. Now there are agents out there, and there are a lot of them. Aaron's experienced a lot of agents. It's not a high bar for you to get a real estate license. Okay,
It's not.
right?
He's laughing.
In Texas, you've got to go to school for like 2 years, I think, to get a license in Texas. In Pennsylvania, it's 2 classes. Okay, so there's a lot of people can get a real estate license, that's great, but a lot of people don't make it in real estate, and the reason why they don't make it is because they don't have the wherewithal to stick through it, because it is a really, it's a rough. You're pretty much starting your own business. Whether you're working on a team or not, you're creating your own business, you're drumming up your own business. So a lot of agents don't make it. I would venture to say that 80% of agents out there in Pittsburgh are part-timers, where this is not their full-time job. They don't do this on a regular basis. The national average for a real estate agent is they sold, I think last year was 8.9 deals a year. 8.9 deals a year. Like the guys who are like in real estate right now are like, how do you even make a living? You don't make a living. That's what there is to it. When you sell 8.9 deals a year, you're not making a living. That's all there is to it. So there's a reason why real estate agents may have a bad reputation, especially with investors who are in the market constantly, because they come across a lot of real estate agents who don't know the market when they should. So that's enough of my soapbox.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I mean, do you think that's kind of the same thing with like salespeople? Like everyone has a really bad impression of like salespeople, but like it's because like most people are really bad at it, and like there's a few that are good, or is that, do you think it's kind of like 80-20 rule? Or?
So when there's a lot of money to be had, then people kind of, their ethics and their morals can kind of go to the wayside, and they're thinking about the dollar sign, and they're not thinking about like the dollar sign that's like 20 years down the road. So I think that has a lot to do with it, because if you are a part-time agent and you only do 8.9 deals a year, and you have a deal that's about to fall through, and you could lie about something and make sure that deal closed, and you really need that money, so I think people get in those precarious situations. Now, if you're a real estate agent where you're doing 50 deals a year and you don't need that next deal to close, you're more apt to say, I'm sorry, but we're not going to do something unethical. We're going to make it happen the right way, and if it doesn't happen the right way, it's not going to happen.
So it's more, it comes out of an abundance mentality where they're like, I'm gonna still do well regardless of this one deal, so they won't be shady because they like.
That could be my own personal, idea of it. I mean, there's bad people in everything.
Yeah.
But I think salespeople do get a bad rep because, there's a lot of that going on in any sales industry.
Yeah, to kind of add on that, imagine if you had like 50 sales, you're predominant in the market and everyone knows you. So if you get a bad deal, your word of mouth, reputation can be over. If you do 8 deals a month, you're not really well known. No one really is referring people to you, obviously. So if you do a bad deal, it's honestly not going to hurt you because no one knows you anyways. Like, what's the negative? Yeah. But if you do, say with an investor, if you do a good deal, they're going to use you over and over and over again. And that's what happened with you, and that's what happened with me. And it's just to make money on one, they're going to love you, they're going to refer you to everybody else. But if you're losing one deal out of 50, it's a very small percentage versus 1 out of like 8. So right. How much that matters to you?
Yeah. Seriously. Okay.
Yeah.
I had a deal last year where I had the potential to make like $400,000. It was a big commercial deal, and thinking back, there was no way in hell I was going to save it. But the fact of the matter is, if that were my only deal, I would have been like frantic over this thing falling through. When it fell through, I thought, shit, I could have made $400,000, and I didn't make it. I'll live. You know what I mean? So, you know, when you have that abundance, whenever you're out there doing what you need to do, you're, in my opinion, you're less likely to try to do something shady to make that money.
Thanks.
Yeah. So here's I'll give you a couple of other examples of why I think it's a better idea to hire a good real estate agent if you're going to market or sell a flip property. A good agent should know what direction the market's heading, and a good flipper doesn't necessarily have to sit down and do that research if they're working with a good agent. They can sit down and have coffee with the good agent and say, hey, you know, last week whenever you spent 15 hours researching the Pittsburgh market, can you tell me what's going on? In an hour, I can relay that information to a flipper and say, I think you should stop focusing on Lawrenceville so much and you should start paying attention to Morningside because the average sale price was up almost 40% there last year. That took me hours to figure out. That took the flipper 5 minutes to asking me one question. So that sort of stuff, you know, there's value in that. A good agent's job is to know that stuff. A good flipper's job is to know good contractors and to know good real estate agents and brokers. And pick their brain. A good business person, no matter what business you're in, is relying on other people. They have a team. When somebody tries to do something all on their own, they can only hit a certain level of achievement. They get to a point where they can no longer do any more because they're all on their own. And that, you know, solitary, I can do better than everybody else, that mindset doesn't get you to the pinnacle of success. It only gets you so far. So, all right.
How important is networking in that process? Just getting to know good agents, good wholesalers. Like, how does that factor in? Like, getting like a good network and stuff. Like, what do you recommend?
Good, and it's also incidental. So if you're doing your job, like as a real estate agent, if you're doing your job and you're out there and you're showing properties, you're having open houses, you're marketing to the people that are your prospective clients, you're meeting those people naturally, and you can weed through them. And you can weed through them. The more business you do, the faster you can weed through them. So I think it's very important, but you don't necessarily have to make a concentrated effort to network. Like if you're out there doing it, if you're prospecting every day, you're going to be doing it naturally.
Okay.
Same thing as a wholesaler. A wholesaler is it's a similar sort of situation. If you're a wholesaler versus a real estate agent, you're going to be out there prospecting for business. If you're a flipper, you're out there prospecting for your next house to flip. And who are you talking to when you're doing that, right? You're talking to homeowners, you're talking to the neighbors, and you're networking as well too. You're going to come across the real estate agent who has a house next door listed. You're going to want to talk to that person because they got an up on that market too. So you want to be able to, you know, network that way and pick the brain.
So, say you know we're flipping a house and we want to find a good agent. What exactly, you mentioned earlier that exposure is kind of what's the key, and people are going for quick money on their own. You're recommending going to an agent. So if you're going to interview a bunch of agents, what kind of, you know, I guess strategies should you look for that they're going to tell you, or a certain like pitch they're going to give you to see if they're a good agent or not?
Okay. Thanks for bringing us back to the
Yeah, you're welcome. It was at the 15-minute mark, so.
All right, so as a flipper, what should you look for to make sure you're getting the most exposure? Or what should you do if you want to sell the property on your own to get the most exposure? So the first thing, if you're a flipper, you need to calculate whether you have the time and resources to do this on your own. Okay, number one, the biggest, most important thing to do is to make sure your property's on the MLS. That's, now, as a flipper, you've got to be willing to at least pay half of a commission, which is usually in Pittsburgh around 3%. You have to be willing to pay at least half of a commission if you're going to put the property on the MLS. If you want to be really cheap and you don't want to pay a commission at all, then this is off the plate. So you're going to look at other options other than the MLS. But a lot of, like the forsalebyowner.com, FSBO.com, Help You Sell Realty. Those are companies that will put your property up on the MLS for a flat fee. They charge anywhere between like $200 to $1,000. For them, they'll say, send us 10 of your best photos, send us all the information about the property. We'll put it up on the MLS, but that's all we do for you. Don't ask us for advice. Don't ask us to negotiate. Don't ask us for contract copies. We're just putting it on the MLS for you. That's all we do. So if you go through those companies, they'll put it on the MLS, and then most MLSs will feed it out to, they feed it out to a company called ListHub, which is now owned by the same people that own Realtor.com. And then ListHub will feed it out to Realtor.com, Zillow.com, Trulia.com, and all those sites. So if you have it listed with FitForSaleByOwner.com, they put it on the MLS, then it's fed out to like your normal real estate run-of-the-mill websites. So that's one like super cheap way for you to bypass an agent and just get it out there on the basics. I would definitely recommend, if you're selling a property, to put it on Craigslist. Where do the buyer for your Ambridge properties come from?
Yeah, they came from Craigslist.
Craigslist.
Yeah.
Aaron just sold 3 properties and one buyer from a Craigslist ad. So Craigslist is a great place to advertise property. The average user of Craigslist makes over $100,000 a year. You guys know that demographic. And everybody tells me Craigslist is just full of scammers. They're trying to shoot you and take your wedding ring, whatever. Well, yeah, that happened actually. There are scammers out there, but there are a lot of like real buyers out there as well. So if you want to sell a house, put on Craigslist. The thing about Craigslist is you still have to repost it every 48 hours to make sure it goes and bumps up to the top. So it requires a little bit of manual labor. When you have a lot of properties, that can become a pain in the ass. We have 30-some listings right now, and so we have a full-time administrative staff, and Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, she bumps all of her ads back up to the top. So every 48 hours, we have all our ads going back to the top of Craigslist. And it's funny because when she does that, then you can see the leads roll in. Every time she does that, we get a whole bunch more leads out of it. So Craigslist is a great place to go. There are other sites like that, like eBay Classifieds, Backpage.com, Trib Live is the Tribune Review, although, did they shut down the Trib?
I don't even know.
One of them they shut down,
Yeah.
Post Gazette maybe, I don't know. We don't get much off of those, we get more off of Craigslist than any of the other ones. Anything else, anything I'm missing here as far as real estate websites go? You guys know about?
I mean, I would think like most people look at Trulia and Zillow, I think. Like, that's just a standard thing, I think.
Yeah, so you can manually put it on Trulia and Zillow. So if you want to bypass the MLS, you can manually put it on Trulia and Zillow. But then you're also looking at more more time and labor to do that. If you pay the $200 to put on the MLS through like whatever Fizbo.com or whatever, it's just going to feed to those sites naturally, and then you get your your contact information's there. I would personally rather pay $200 than sit down and spend 3 hours of my life trying to figure out how to work Zillow and Trulia. It just seems easier to me. It's done automatically. You can spend more time finding another property to flip. Yeah.
Do you know the difference in accuracy between MLS and Zillow or Trulia? Like they always say Zillow is like probably a couple days behind MLS. Like, do you know exactly?
Yeah, so especially our MLS, that's a really good question. So our MLS when it feeds into Zillow and Trulia, there's a 48-hour delay. So if we put a property in the MLS right now, it doesn't pop up on Trulia and Zillow for 48 hours. So on the buy side, that's more important, I guess, on the buy side than on the sell side. On the buy side, if you want properties now, so if you're like a flipper and you're looking for the next deal, you really are better off like working with an agent who has access to the MLS right now, because that is one thing that the good properties are under contract the first day. I've seen numerous instances where a great foreclosure hits the market. It would be a great flip. There's 30 people through it the first day. There's 17 competing offers, and it's gone before it even hits Zillow or Trulia. So if you're on the buy side, work with a strong investing agent, somebody who knows investing and can get you immediate access to the MLS. There are IDX sites out there. We have an IDX site through our brokerage that you can access. It's got a 15-minute delay, not a 48-hour delay. So you can access within 15 minutes of the property hitting, and it goes out to you. So that's a really good question. On the sell side, if you're the seller, you can put it in manually on Zillow and Trulia if you want it to hit the market right now. You can do that on your own. What else?
Would you also recommend consulting an agent for stuff like rental property if you're going for more of the long play?
Yeah, definitely, and especially like an agent that's doing a lot of investment stuff may throw you a deal before it hits the market, so you get first dibs on it before anybody else. I just listed a property in the south side, and when I listed, I thought, I wonder if Paul's one of our past clients who's an investor. He buys 2 or 3 properties a year. I wonder if Paul would like this. I called Paul and said, hey, would you like this? He said, sure. Put an offer in, sold it to him. So, that sort of stuff. And we had a ton of people were, trying to look at it after we put it under contract, but they were too late. We already knew who the buyer was. So, if you have that relationship with the agents, you do get, firsthand, like right off the shelf deal where nobody else knew about it. Question, or were you trying to direct me back to?
Yeah, I was gonna say. So, any agent can put it in the MLS. What are you looking for that somebody can do more so than that to earn more than just $200 or $1,000?
Okay, so my goal in creating our team was to turn it into a system and make marketing for our clients so systematic and so well oiled that there were no other agents that could compete with us. So what we do, we have a full-time admin, we have a half-time admin, and all they do all day for the most part is marketing, and it's marketing for our listings. If you're dealing with a full-time agent, how does the agent make money? Are they making money by sitting on Craigslist typing up ads? No, yeah, they got to be out meeting with people. Being a real estate salesperson is still a face-to-face business. You got to be opening doors and showing properties, taking listings, meeting with clients, getting contracts signed. When you have the contract signed, when you sit down and you start putting the listing into the MLS and you start doing ads, that time that you're spending doing that, you're not getting another listing. You're not getting another client. You're spending time marketing this listing, which is great. You've got to sell the listing to make money. But the more time you spend doing administrative duties, the less time you spend making money out there meeting with new clients. So we've turned it into a system where the listing comes in, it goes to our admin. Our admin spends nearly 8 hours a day marketing our listings. We're doing YouTube virtual tours for the property. Your typical agent doesn't do that. We have this run-of-the-mill thing where if you put it in the MLS, it creates a virtual tour that's like 15 minutes long, plays crappy jazz music, and it's absolutely horrible. So we'll go in and we'll create. Kelsey will go in and create a virtual tour. It's 3 to 5 of the best photos of the property. We're not going to do a 15-minute virtual tour and show the entire world 25 photos of the property because the entire world does not have the attention span to sit through a 15-minute video of watching a property that's probably not going to buy. So we do 3 to 5 photos, best photos of the property. We highlight the amenities in the property that as many people as possible would like. We ask them to call us if they'd like a tour or more information. So there's a call to action in there, which is very important for you marketing people. You have a call to action in there. And then in the body of the YouTube video, we're going to have a link that drives traffic back to the landing page for that property. So if somebody wants to get more information about the property and they don't want to call us directly, they can go to the landing page, they can register there, they can search for more properties or whatever. The whole idea is as soon as they register, we have this buyer lead who may not work for that property, but they may buy one of our other properties. So we're able to kind of play off the properties that we have and make sure that we're still selling in-house whenever we can. The other important thing about the YouTube videos is the words that we're using in the videos. So search engine optimization is super important right now. If somebody's looking for, I have a property that sold in Wilkinsburg 1 year. It was an urban homestead. They had like this whole extra yard all decked out in the farm. Like they were growing their own food and everything. Like super unique property that otherwise would have been pretty hard to sell. They had tried to sell it with an agent the year previously. For an entire year they had tried to sell this property and could not sell it. I listed it for the same price. We did a YouTube virtual tour for it, and we targeted urban homesteading as the keyword, and house for sale of urban homesteading, Pittsburgh, PA, and we sold it in 2 weeks for almost full price in Wilkinsburg for $125,000. The average sell price in Wilkinsburg then was $35,000. So it was like the highest priced house to sell that year. And we did it in 2 weeks when the last agent tried a year to do it. So that sort of stuff, having an admin that just does that and focuses on that is huge. So as a flipper, if you're a full-time flipper and you're like in that mom and pop stage where you're just getting going and you want to save every penny, and you know about SEO and you can do that on your own, do it. You can do it. You can save the commission. I would highly recommend getting a really good pricing idea of your property, though, because you don't want to end up in that situation like that for sale by owner I was telling you about, where she sold it for 20 grand short and didn't realize it. If you price it right, you should be able to get that top tier. You might be able to push the market depending on the market that you're in. Yes?
Just curious to you about the YouTube video. See, like, there's new, like, virtual tours through that they use, like, the 360 cameras. They walk through. You, like, trying to get into that at all, or you think it's a waste of money?
No, I think that is the future of real estate. I mean, I think that at some point it's going, but in the very near future, we're going to be able to bring clients into our office and sit them down and do, the Google virtual and just walk them through houses, and they can, God bless whoever created that, because driving around showing houses, that's like my least favorite thing to do. But to be able to go through and them to look at 5 to 10 houses without leaving the office and rule out, I don't want those 8, let's go see these 2 in person, that's going to be huge. That's going to save a ton of time, and it's going to make real estate agents' lives easier. And the agents who grab that and the brokers who grab that and do it first are going to have a huge jump on the market. That's going to be huge. Yeah. All right. What else?
There's a tab open on there, the top of your page for the COVID St. Charles Court.
So here's a good example of our SEO at work. When we got here, we were number 2, now we're number 1 again. So we've been.
I don't know what happened in the past 3 minutes, but.
So Google changed something with SEO recently, and I haven't figured out what, but some of our stuff has started to drop, other stuff has started to go up. So this is actually one of the crappy run-of-the-mill YouTube videos I was just telling you about. We got lazy here on this one. What I did with this is we went in and we focused on hyperlocal keywords. Hyperlocal keywords are like Victorian-style home for sale near Frick Park with a 2-car garage. That's like a hyper-local long-tail phrase, right? So we're talking about a very small section of Pittsburgh, and we're looking for something very specific. So that's what they call hyper-local long-tail phrase. So we did something similar with this. So we're looking for, if you're looking for a luxury riverfront townhouse for sale in the Cove at St. Charles Court, there it is. So this is the funny thing, and I showed this to the president of the condo association there. I said, isn't that cool how we're beating your official website? So that's when SEO works. Like when you got somebody who's searching it, like, because that's a area where people are watching it because they want to buy houses there. So when they're watching it, and every time they search for it, they're finding the Dustin nulf team. We're selling another property there. Who are they going to call whenever they want to buy a property there? And then we have a waiting list, and then we can just call up the owners and say, hey, you want to sell your property? We got a couple buyers who are waiting to buy. So that sort of stuff. When you got a good agent who's working for you, they will have a waiting list sometimes for locations. And you're flipping a property in Highland Park, and you call the local Highland Park real estate agent who potentially has buyers. You may have a buyer that you found within a couple of days, very quickly. So that's when it works correctly.
Do a lot of people actually search for properties, like buyers? They'll be like, house in Highland Park for sale or something like that?
Yeah, so school districts are a big one. So somebody who's searching for a 3-bedroom level entry ranch in Moon School District, like those searches, those are getting bigger and bigger. So there's a real estate agent that works for Keller Williams Realty. He's out in Bellingham, Washington, and he's working with Google on creating a new real estate search site where you can go in and put in a hyperlocal phrase like that, and it has better results. The results make more sense than if you were to just do it in Google alone. And it's all like sort of a captive audience where their goal is to kind of get in and take over where Zillow and Trulia are and capture that market, and then Google will have another piece of of the internet world.
And then they'll do Google Box virtual tours.
Well, yeah, they're gonna integrate everything at some point. Okay, so that's the big experience, or the big thing is the experience and the time involved in doing it. When I started, I'll look at it like this: like, if you're a flipper who's just starting out, you might actually be doing the renovations on the property yourself. You may be putting that for sale sign in. You may be putting it on Craigslist and doing all that sort of stuff. But once you get up and running, a smart business owner is going to reinvest some of the money they made and start turning it into a business. So then you might hire your first carpentry assistant who's going to be handing you nails or something, and they're going to learn their way through the process. It's the same thing. Building a flipping business is the same thing as building a real estate team. Only you're hiring people to do different things, but it's the same concept. And at some point, you're going to get to where it no longer makes sense for you to do it. So in the real estate world, we look at it this way.